Fala, strangers, tudo beleza? Aqui quem fala é o Will, então já vai deixando o seu like aí, se inscrevendo no canal, ativando o sininho que vai me ajudar muito. E bom, estamos aqui no segundo episódio, segunda parte de reagindo ao vídeo Evolução da Nintendo, sim galera. E como sempre eu vou deixar o canal do criador na descrição do vídeo e o vídeo original também. Então vamos começar aqui em 3, 2, 1 e vai!
Let's talk about Mario for a second.
Paramos
It's
aqui.
me, Mario!
One of the most important and iconic characters Nintendo has ever created. This legendary character first appeared as the main protagonist in the 1981 arcade game Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
He didn't have a name yet, so in Japan, he was first called Osan, which translates to middle-aged guy. Legendary creator Shigeru Miyamoto wanted a solid name for the character and decided to call him Mr. Video. Miyamoto later acknowledged that this wasn't the best name and said, quote, if he had been called Mr. Video, he might have disappeared off the face of the earth. In the 8-bit era, creating characters was very limited. To make the design look like a man as much as possible, Miyamoto started by drawing the nose and gave Mario his mustache to make the character more recognizable.
Aqui, né? Deve se hidratem. Ó, cheguei no meu moto.
The red shirt and blue overall was to create contrast against the background. The red cap was also added to avoid drawing the character's hairstyle and eyebrows. Over the years, Mario's design changed significantly as technology evolved. A very important market for Nintendo was the United States. In the US, he was named Jumpman, which became his first official name. This was because he had one signature move, and that was, of course, jumping. The name was originally chosen for its similarity to the name Pac-Man, but they weren't satisfied with his name. During a brainstorm for a better name, landlord Mario Segale confronted the former president of Nintendo of America, demanding that he pay his rent. This inspired them to name the character after the Italian-American landlord. According to Miyamoto, Mario Segale looked exactly like the video game character. He also thought it was a nice name, so the character was named Mario. Mario Segale was later asked what he thought of the video game character that was named after him. He said, quote, you might say, I'm still waiting for my royalty checks. Mario was a more relatable name than Jumpman, and thus suited the Italian hero perfectly. Just 2 years after Donkey Kong in 1983, Mario received his first game, Mario Brothers. Since Mario was born in 1981, he was technically nowhere near old enough to be working on all those pipes when the first Mario Brothers game debuted in 1983. But at least he was small enough to get in there and get the work done. Mario also got his own world and a twin brother named Luigi. Miyamoto just swapped 2 of Mario's colors to create Luigi. Very creative. It's amazing what a little bit of color swapping can do. Mario would become the face of Nintendo and appeared in countless games. In fact, there are over 200 different Mario games. The franchise is a major commercial success and sold over 760 million games, making it by far the best-selling video game franchise in the world, with no
760 bilhões de cópias, caraca, mano, é muita coisa.
Sign of slowing down. Mario also became a movie star.
Nossa, assisti esse filme, mano.
The Super Mario Brothers movie, which became a massive commercial success. With over $1.3 billion, it became the 15th highest grossing movie of all time. Not bad for an Italian plumber.
Thank you, Super Mario Bros. It seems like the only thing you haven't drained is my bank account.
We've also created a 6-episode series about the evolution of Super Mario. Check it out after this video if you'd like to see how much Mario has changed over the years, from his humble beginnings.
Bom, galera, aí é uma coisa, vocês querem que eu reaja a esse vídeo que ele falou agora, o Flash Life, reagindo à evolução do Super Mario? Deixem nos comentários aí, galera, que eu quero saber a opinião de vocês.
Beginnings as a little 8-bit character to the high-definition hero he is today.
Mario Bros. Wonder. Tá.
However, it all started with the iconic Super Mario Bros. Game on the NES from 1985, which to this day remains 6th on the best-selling video games of all time. For the NES, over 40 million
40
copies of the
milhões de
game were
cópias.
sold.
É muita
But if
coisa.
you also include remasters and re-releases, that number stands at an astonishing 67.6 million copies.
Caraca.
That's a lot of people who had to blow into the cartridge to get it to work. The NES was
Isso,
a revolutionary
galera, esse negócio aí de assoprar o cartucho pra funcionar é mito. Que tipo, tipo assim, se você assoprar o cartucho, pode estragar a entrada do cartucho. Porque, tipo, vai a saliva não vai a saliva no cartucho e estraga. Na minha opinião, acho que isso aí é mito.
game console that changed the gaming landscape forever.
Mas enfim.
Fun fact. Did
Cada
you
um tem
know
essa
that
opinião.
before the creation of Mario, Nintendo wanted to use
eu
Popeye
fiquei
as the
sabendo disso, galera.
protagonist in the 1981
Ia ser o
Donkey Kong
Popeye.
game? That's right. We almost had a spinach-eating sailor man instead of the lovable Italian plumber.
Bem da hora. Inclusive, desenho da época dos meus pais.
However, Nintendo was unable to get the licensing rights, so they created Mario instead.
Opa, agora é o Game Boy.
I said it wasn't humanly possible. All the power and excitement of Nintendo
Game Boy
right in the
agora.
palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable,
Primeiro
it's
console
in stereo,
portátil, eu acho,
and its
da
games
Nintendo.
are interchangeable.
In 1989, Nintendo offered more versatility to gamers in the form of a handheld, brick-like console that used interchangeable ROM cartridges. This meant that gamers
Entendi.
could simply buy a game rather than a new device each time they wanted
Opa.
a different experience. Of course, the handheld we're talking about is the original Game Boy.
Game Boy
It's
Classic.
hard to believe that the Game Boy is still popular today, considering it was first released
Mais de
over 30
30
years
anos, é
ago.
verdade,
But I
89.
guess there's just something about portable, durable gaming that keeps people coming back for more. And who can resist those amazing titles? Tetris,
E aí eu faço jogo, só que eu nunca joguei.
The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening,
Isso é bom. É legal.
Kirby's Dream Land,
Primeiro jogo que apareceu o Kirby pela primeira vez.
and of course, Super Mario Land.
Inclusive, você não tava a pista da Peach, galera. Você tava a
Not to
pista da
mention,
Daisy.
it was a pretty good
Yeah,
deal
namorada
at
do
just
Luigi.
$90. The Game Boy's library was stacked full of classics, including the hugely popular Pokemon games, notably Pokemon Yellow, as well as the red and blue versions. Who doesn't love Pokemon?
Eu amo Pokémon.
It all started on the Game Boy, and these cute little creatures have been charming fans for over 2 decades and show no signs of slowing down. I mean, who can resist all those adorable little faces?
Mentira.
Charmander,
Charmander!
Bulbasaur,
Bulbasaur.
Squirtle.
Squirtle, Squirtle.
They're all so cute.
Eles são fofos
And who
mesmo.
doesn't love Pikachu? He's the official mascot of Pokemon, after all.
Pika! Pikachu! Pikachu! Pikachu!
Whether you grew up
Yeah.
with the original 151 or you're a more recent fan of the franchise, there is no denying that Pokemon is a global
O
phenomenon.
anime de Pokémon.
It is a behemoth franchise with a total revenue of a whopping, wait for it, 118.5 billion. To put that into
Meu Deus,
perspective, if
118
Pokemon was a
bilhões.
country, it would have the
De dólares.
59th largest economy in the world, ahead of
Damn.
countries like Morocco and Iceland.
Marrom.
And if Pikachu was its president, I would definitely vote for him.
Beleza.
Pokemon is by far the highest grossing media franchise
Hmm.
in the world, which includes not just video games but also books,
Livros,
movies, and
filmes,
television
programa,
shows.
televisão.
It's even bigger than franchises like Star Wars,
Eita, marca Star Wars, caraca.
Marvel,
Avengers!
Marvel.
Assemble.
Harry Potter,
The boy who lived.
Harry Potter. Eu assisti todos os filmes do Harry Potter, é muito bom, galera. Se vocês não assistiram, eu recomendo assistir.
Come to die.
and Mario. Pokemon was created by Satoshi Tajiri in 1996, and he sure knows how to make a timeless franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at how popular Pokemon still is today, over 20 years after its inception. And with new games being released regularly, like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it doesn't look like the franchise is going to slow down anytime soon.
Eita, o Mew e o Mewtwo.
There are also multiple mobile games, including Pokemon Go,
Pokémon Go, já joguei, galera. É o jogo de AR, realidade aumentada.
which have reached over 1 billion mobile downloads.
Bilhão de downloads,
In
caraca.
total, a mind-blowing 440 million Pokemon games have been sold.
Meu Deus.
Who would have thought that so many people would be interested in catching little creatures and training them to fight other creatures? But it isn't just games that make this franchise so popular. It also spawned a hugely successful anime television series with over 20 seasons and a whopping 1,000 episodes in 192 countries. A Pokemon trading card game that is the highest-selling trading card game of all time,
Jogo de cartas.
with over 43.2 billion cards sold. That's a lot of Pikachu and Charizard cards.
Nossa,
Pokemon
imagina.
toys, which are available in a wide variety of forms, from traditional action figures to cuddly plush toys.
Não, biquíni pra você, meu
And
Deus.
there is much, much more, including music, books, an anime film series, merchandise, and a live-action film
Live action.
known as Detective
Eu vi esse filme,
Pikachu.
galera, muito
If you're
bom.
a fan of Pikachu, then you're in for a real treat.
Did you just talk? Whoa. Did you just understand me?
Oh my god, you can understand me! Stop! I've been so lonely!
There is ever so much more to cover, so subscribe and leave a comment if you want to see the evolution of
A
Pokemon.
evolução de
What a
Pokémon.
wild ride it's been since
Legal.
Pokemon first hit the scene in 1996. And to think, it all started with a little yellow creature that could only say
Mano,
its own
Pikachu é
name.
muito fofinho, galera.
For now, though, let's go back to the beginning with the OG Game Boy and
Quer dizer,
Pokemon
todos-
Red,
quer dizer, todos
Green,
Pokémon são
Blue,
fofinhos.
and Yellow. Those games had some serious sales numbers, moving 46
Quatro
million
jogos.
copies. 3 years later,
Inclusive, o Pokémon Green ele era exclusivo do Japão.
Nintendo came out with Pokemon Gold and Silver, which also became a huge commercial success. The Pokemon franchise was, without a doubt, a massive contributor to the success of the Game Boy. In total, more than 64.4 million Game Boys have been sold
bastante
worldwide, making it one of the most popular consoles of all time. It has since become a collector's item, with people still playing on the handheld console to this day. Fun fact, Game Boys are so durable that one even survived a bombing during the Gulf War. And
Fiquei
despite
sabendo
being
dessa
heavily
história.
scorched, it was still playable. That's one tough little machine.
Fiquei sabendo dessa
The
história.
much anticipated success
Inclusive, esse Game Boy que sobreviveu a essa guerra aí, ele tá no museu, se eu não me engano. Nossa, vocês têm que ver como é que tá o Game Boy, como é que ele tá, esse Game Boy. Depois se eu conseguir achar a foto, eu vou colocar na tela.
successor to the NES was the SNES,
NES.
released in 1991 in the United States with the new S standing for Super. Hence, the Famicom, released one
Super
year earlier in
Famicom, que era no
Japan,
Japão,
also
e
became the Super
Super Nintendo.
Famicom. At the
Era
time,
na América.
Nintendo and Sega were going head-to-head in what is
Eita.
referred to as the Bit Wars.
Guerra.
Nintendo had the
Yeah.
SNES, while Sega had the Genesis. Nintendo, at this point, had a much bigger following, and also a larger budget, so Sega had to think outside of the box to gain more attention.
Fiquei sabendo do
When they
comercial.
released their ad campaign and
A
started to
Sega
take
faz o que a
jabs at
Nintendo não
Nintendo.
faz. Sega...
Mario
não.
continued its legacy on the SNES with multiple Mario games, including Super Mario All-Star,
Isso aí é o remake dos jogos do Nintendinho.
Super Mario Kart, and Super Mario World,
Para o World.
which is often considered one of the greatest
Inclusive,
video
esse foi o
games
primeiro
ever
jogo do
made.
Mario que eu
It
vi
was a
na minha
huge
vida.
commercial success,
Eu joguei, se não
selling
me
over
engano.
20 million copies worldwide.
Caraca, 20 milhões de
That makes
cópias.
it the best-selling SNES title of all time.
Nossa, o jogo mais
Since
vendido.
Nintendo had huge success with Mario, Sega was inspired to do the same and created one of the most iconic mascots ever, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Desse jogo.
Since its inception, with the first Sonic the Hedgehog game in 1991, the speedy blue hedgehog quickly became one of the world's most well-known video game characters. He has appeared in countless games, television shows, comics, and movies. While their competition is fierce, Sonic and Mario both have a long history of gaming excellence. It is safe to say that both characters are legendary icons of the gaming world,
Onde?
and their games are some of the most popular and well-loved of all time. Both the SNES and the Sega Genesis saw significant increases in processing power, which led to better 16-bit graphics
Gráficos 16
that
bits.
simulated 3D effects, clearer sound, faster gameplay, and more advanced cartridges. The SNES controller also got a makeover, with rounded edges replacing the former rectangular design, and additional buttons added to both the front and shoulders of the game.
Galera, eu vou ficando com o vídeo por aqui. Espero que vocês tenham gostado muito desse vídeo. Se você gostou do vídeo, não esqueça de deixar o seu like aí, se inscrever no canal, ativando o sininho, que vai me ajudar muito a crescer no canal, a crescer no YouTube. Vocês não vão se arrepender. Bom, valeu, falou e tchau, galera. Nos vemos na terceira parte e fui!